Ready? Yes, we're ready.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, step right up. Presenting for the first time, Caesar the Sambarnist. Yeah. All right. So for 23 years, 23 years old, Caesar has been asleep for 23 years continuously, day and night. For the, right now, right before your eyes, he's going to awaken from his dark night. That's actually my mother. Caesar, can you hear me? I am Dr. Caligari, and I call upon you to wake a moment from your brief sleep. Caesar knows everything. He knows every secret. He knows the past and he sees the future. Judge for yourselves. Caesar, what is German Expressionism and how did it begin?
Thank you, Leonard. I mean, Dr. Caligari. German Expressionism is actually an art movement that took place in the early 1900s in Germany, of course. How to say? Oh, it is Expressionism actually means modern art, okay, in Germany, which is referring to the breaking of the traditional Western art, which is a resident of the Renaissance era. So as you can see, yeah, we got that. So we talk about the Great War. We had a lot of casualties, as you can see, and the whole world was blaming Germany for it. So after the Allied countries won, what they did was they created the Treaty of Versailles. Now there's so many points about it, and it's obvious that they hated Germany. Okay. One of them is called Article 231, which is the War Guilt Clause. Germany was to take full responsibility for the damages, so they had to pay about 12.5 billion pounds in reparations. So of course you can see that, generally people were not happy about it. So many of the German artists had actually died during the war, and the ones who survived actually suffered from psychological trauma. We have two examples here, Franz Marc and Otto Dix. Franz Marc, you can see he uses futurism and cubism, right? Unfortunately, he was killed in the war. Otto Dix survived, but you can see in his art how he uses all these scary images in his paintings. So let's move on. Film and chaos. Let's look at the relationship. Okay. The relationship means that despite economical high inflation and economical downfall, they could still, the film industry saw advantage. Because things were cheaper, production costs were lower, right? So it was easier for them to export films as well. So German films could go out to the world easier, right? There was also this thing called the hunger for amusement, this effect that took place during that period, whereby civilians, all they have at home is just hardship, hunger. So what they did was they flocked to theaters for entertainment. And because of that, the film industry saw more potential, and because it was cheaper as well, so a lot of people are going. And by the end of this era, they made a profit from 25 million to 100 million euros. Let's move on. Hi guys.
Hi guys. So what is German expressionism, right? So it's basically, like it says, Germans expressing their emotions through a medium, which is paintings, film, photography, stuff like that. It's a bitter protest movement because it happened after the World War One, after the surrender of the Germans. So they were pretty unhappy. So they used mediums to, express their emotions. Alright, so the characteristics and the styles of this German expressionism, right, is to confront the tragic experience of the World War One and what happened after that. This like this despicable experience of modern life. These are the certain like the characteristics, and then the enduring sadness to religion and nature. So next up is Wai Kyong for some of the examples.
Okay, so for the examples, just like what he said after World War One, they tried to relieve their pain in a way. So the examples, one of it, One Last Laugh, or The Last Laugh by F.W. Murano. It's basically a story of a poor doorman of a great hotel, and then he did something wrong and got demoted all the way down to like the bathroom janitor and stuff. So in that way, he met with misfortune, and it shows the life of the German people back then. It shows like the middle class and how they were, and it was like chaos during after the war. And we have M by Fritz Lang. I have two examples of his. This is one of it. It's basically a film set in Berlin, and then it talks about child molester going around killing people. So it shows the mass hysteria of Germany through all these killings. So like after war, it shows the tragic experiences and sadness of what they felt during that time, like after the war, after all the killing and stuff. So and it's also shot in, like, as you can see, a lot of shadows and stuff, just like the two movies that we watched yesterday. For those who never watched, you know who you are. Okay, let's move on. And another example from Fritz Lang, which is Metropolis. Basically, it's a very stylized film. It's a very futuristic film. It's something that shows post-expressionism, post-era. So it's basically them moving forward, like moving away from their tragic past and all the wars and everything. So yeah.
Which brings us to the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is a film made in 1920, released in 1920 by German director Robert Wien. In this film, a brief introduction of this film. This film follows Francis as he investigates the death of his best friend, Alan, which eventually leads him to believe that Caesar is in fact a killer. But since you already watched it, this film is also set in a frame, which is the twist of it happening only in Francis's troubled mind. Okay, Dr. Caligari has madness written all over it, as you have watched. It's a thrilling movie. It's like a bad nightmare that you cannot get past. Its brilliant art direction reflects the pain and suffering of the Germans after the World War I. Its elaborate set design is a masterpiece that continues to inspire other filmmakers to challenge the boundaries of film as an art form. One can't help but marvel at the ingenuity of this film.
I'll be talking about why the film is so popular. Okay, so one of the reasons that I've researched on is based on Freud's dream theory, which speaks about how the mind distorts memory as a defense mechanism. Something like how you see in the show, how Francis thinks that he's the good guy and Dr. Caligari is the bad guy, but he's the hero. But in reality, he's actually the person who's insane. And the idea is that he cannot get past the guilt when his friend Alan died. Other shows that use Freud's dream theory, if you've seen, has been Life of Pi, which is a similar example, and next slide. It's very close to how the Germans were feeling at that time, where they were very down, right? They felt like looking away from reality. They didn't want to face reality head on. So they had a lot of signs of escapism. So yeah, they wanted to enter like film, right? They watch films and stuff to avoid reality, you know, to avoid facing the ugly truth. So this story kind of reflects that upon them, in a way. So maybe that makes it very relatable for them, and one reason why it's well known. There are many other interpretations of why is it well known. One of it was I read from David Robinson, who said from a book that it is possible that the frame added, and the entire theme was business decision, because expressionism was trending at the time according to his research. So he argues that it may as well be like a normal detective show, but then because expressionism was kind of like a hit at the time, so they decided to give it that kind of twist. But no one really knows the like how true is that. That's only his interpretation, and there's many more. Yeah. Okay. So Caesar, no, get back, I command you to go back. Caesar.
Okay,
Thank you.
That's about it, guys.
Thank
Alright,
you.
alright, Caesar. Put anything in the box, okay? Thanks. That's about it. Yeah, thank you.
Alright, thanks. Any questions?